of the International Day is an occasion to disseminate the message of non-violence, including through education and public awareness. And after that, 2nd October was been recognized as a very important day, right? As far as the objectives of the events are concerned, we are going to recall the power of truth and non-violence on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti. We are going to contemplate Mahatma Gandhi as an inspiration of non-violence movements. We are going to remember the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi that has changed the world. So now I am going to invite Honorable Speaker Dr. Uh, Amit Kumar. He is an assistant professor of political science at Munshi Singh College, Motihari, which is a contingent unit of uh, Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Bihar University, Muzaffarpur. And before joining B.R. Ambedkar University, he had teaching at Kamala Nehru College, University of Delhi. As far as the specialization is concerned, his specialization ranges from political thought, theories of international politics, evolving security and economic architecture in the Indo-Pacific, ethnicity and the state, and conflict resolution and peace studies. So he is one of the very significant thinker as far as the topic of the seminar is concerned. So let me give a brief introduction of the theme of the talk. The Gandhian philosophy has been adopted over the years as a means of unarmed resistance against discrimination, repression, and oppression of the weak, not only in India alone, but in the entire world. It has become a source of inspiration for leaders of various mass movements working for people's empowerment and for the social transformation. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Vinoba Bhave, Jayaprakash Narayan, Dr. Nelson Mandela, and others have emerged as the champions of human rights who have who are fighting on Gandhian lines for their dignity and honor as equal members of society. Uh, as far as the philosophical theorization of Gandhi is concerned, Gandhi has deep problem with the idea of desire, which is manifested in terms of the evils of modernity. The identification of problems of desire is significant, which led on the conflict between nature and the culture on the one hand, and the conflict between development and environment on the other hand. That is to say, the idea of sustainability is the central concern of Gandhian thought. Being a sociologist, I would recall my favorite sociologist, Anand Srinivas, who once said Gandhi was at heart a philosophical anarchist, deriving inspiration from his ideas from Tolstoy, Ruskin, and Thoreau. Since Gandhi claims to be a practical idealist, I think when you try to understand Sarvodaya of Mahatma Gandhi, then you can observe it works like realist utopia. Throughout his life, works of Antyodaya, the welfare of the margins man, he works for the empowerment of the oppressed, which is to be understood as the central theme of John Rawls' theory of justice as well as the philosophy of equity. In addition to that, Gandhi all thought a copy of Indian Enlightenment and Veda with the perspective of recent Indian society. Even theoretical opponents of Gandhi like Marx and Lenin talk about peace, that is the central theme of Gandhian notion as the ultimate uh, order of society. Marx states that peace could be served as the international principle of new communist society only. On the other hand, Lenin describes communism as the societies of universal prosperity and individual peace. I basically theorize when I theorize uh, Gandhi is equal to Marx minus violence. Gandhi uh, 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 cherished cherished the idea of religion also, and he called himself Sanatani Hindu. But he is not a follower of Brahminical Hinduism. He advocates the of Ram Rajya, but his Ram is not the Ram who was born in the temple or the Ayodhya. His Ram is simply a God. In his view, God is the help of helpless. He said, my life is governed by religion, but his religious principle teaches us to practice ahimsa, to avoid violence to others. These days, we can see the discourse of social Darwinism, that is the discourse of public opinion, majority public opinion, which cherish the idea of social Darwinism. And in that context, I think Gandhi's thought is, has become more relevant, has become more significant. And when I see the whole biographical self of Gandhi, I find I find Gandhi had never lost sight of his principles that govern his life. His God is truth. In his view, truth is loving others as thyself. God is equal to truth, is equal to love, is the very foundation of deeds of peace, forgiveness, and mercy. Reading Gandhi and following his teaching makes us realize the essence of human hearted life. His methodology of life tells us to save ourselves from egoism in particular, and how to save ourselves from the disease of ism, determinism also. So Gandhi has multiple aura, I would say, when he says loyalty is a corrupt state, loyalty to a corrupt state is a sin. This loyalty is, is a virtue. It means like decent is also central in his philosophical analysis. In conclusion, I would like to say Gandhi is very relevant to our problems, contemporary problems, to our age, as long as there is this violence which threatens the very future of human race, the relevance of Gandhi will continue. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Amit sir to give more insights on Gandhi and his relevance. And happy Gandhi Jayanti. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Amit sir. Sir, over.
Thank
Hello.
you very much, Mr. Ranveer Kumar Gautam ji.
Okay.
Hello,
Well,
can you hear me? Am I
yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ranveer Kumar Gautam ji. It's a wonderful that we are all gathered here to speak, to share our thoughts on Mahatma Gandhi ji, who doesn't need any introduction. He had been a source of like light. He had been a source of guiding light, rather I would say, for the third world countries who had fought their independence by following his teaching method, his life. So uh, it's a very good fortune for me that I have started my career Gandhiji has started his career. Like when I came to when I joined Bihar University, I was not sure where I will be posted, and when I am just at and being sent to Champaran, I was very much delighted to know that this is the place where Gandhiji has started his whole career. Gandhiji he from the start was that
Sir, sir,
he started.
can you switch off your camera? Then we are able to listen you properly. Just
Okay,
switch off the
okay,
camera.
fine,
Yes, sir. Okay.
fine, fine. Yeah. So it was like when I started here, when I came here, I was like surprised to know that this is the place where Gandhiji has started. The moment I stepped out from the railway station, I was awestruck by the fact that some nearly 70 years back or nearly 100 years back, Gandhiji also came here and he has started his career from here. Even though I have knowledge of international politics, I have interest in political thought. I have been associated with the conflict and peace studies during my research career. But I have not looked Gandhi the way I should have. But it also provided me an opportunity. When I came here, it provided an opportunity to look at Gandhi from an entirely different perspective. How he the concept of modernity, how he concept and I know what he considered as an ideal society. So I will, you have already has already elaborated. He has already broadly outlined Gandhiji and his relevance in our contemporary time. So I will not elaborate much on the broader outline. I will restrict myself to his two very two idea about modernity, how critique the concept of modernity that we all know it today. So, like when we look at modernity, or when we look at the concept of modernity, what we basically look at is the modern industrial civilization. And when we look at modern industrial civilization, we basically look at some of the characteristic features through which we understand or through which we identify. These are the broader characteristics which define modernity as such, like the rationalism, focus on secularism. Then we have industrialization, then we have scientific culture, individualism, technological mastery of nature, and the derive for globalization. But at the same time, when we look at these characteristics, we also see some inherent in these characteristics. And it has also been critiqued by some of the prominent thinkers. There are many just commented upon the community, like there's
Sir, your voice is not coming.
commented upon the concept of
Can you
modernity,
relocate
and some,
yourself?
in fact,
Sorry. Sir, your voice is not coming proper.
okay,
Can you relocate yourself somewhere?
okay, fine.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Is it
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
audible now?
Yes, you are audible. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So audible now?
Yes. Just go ahead. Hmm.
Hello. Yeah, yeah.
Sir,
So
you are audible. Just
I
go
will
ahead.
uh,
Hmm.
I will focus primarily. Yeah, yeah. I will focus
Hmm.
primarily on concept of and reasons why he negated. He
Hmm.
basically critiqued upon the concept of modernity. Like the earlier, like Western political thinkers, if you look at, some of them has criticized, some of them has in fact commented upon them, but some have they have different connotation about modernity. When it comes to Gandhiji totally he never negated or he totally never uh, uh, negated or discarded the concept of modernity. In fact, he admired some of the features of modernity, but at the same time, there are certain contradictions that he basically commented upon. Let's look at why he was so uh, so against the modernity. And from here, I will look at some of the like contemporary contemporary like COVID-19 or that also known as SARS-2, COVID-19, novel coronavirus, or that as we know now pandemic, we know it today. So look at this from here. We will connect the thoughts how this is even relevant today. Let's look at the trajectory of coronavirus and its spread. It was detected in December 2019, and it was detected in the Hubei province and Wuhan city, which is in the Hubei province. So it was first detected there. Then in January 2020, it was World Health Organization who declared it as a pandemic. So was declared as a pandemic. By the time it was declared as a pandemic, it already it had infected in fact United States the new epicenter. And today, if we look at global hotspot of the reported every day. So if we look at Gandhian thoughts, if we connect this trajectory of coronavirus with the Gandhian thought, what Gandhiji has commented long back, what his thought was like, see, we need to look at modernity very subjectively because modernity has some inherent contradictions. And these contradictions are like it gives basically it focuses more on individuals' bodily desires or it focuses more on individuals' external desires than enriching itself. So if we look at in a binary, it's like inner self versus the outer self, or body and the innate self. So here comes the contradiction. And Gandhiji's concept was, Gandhiji's critique was that it basically focused more on the bodily aspect. It was supported by rationality. That is what also one reason Gandhiji was to some extent against rationality because for him rationality is basically a kind of logical justification for for what is already like the physical. It never gives it never justify, it never supports the metaphysical or the inner self. It never tries to like enrich the inner self. Therefore there is a clear disconnect between individuals, uh, the inner self, the inner happiness, and his desires. He getting more and more, or his desires are increasing day in day out. every day his desires are increasing, and that is further exploited by the capitalist intentions. Like when we look at the whole thing, the capitalism that thrives on the industry is giving the more it produces, it gives a false desire among the individuals to own it. Suppose if we have a cycle today, I will be I will be desiring to have a bike tomorrow, and the day after I will be like I need a car. That is not what I actually want, but that is something that has been somehow guided, or somehow I have been pulled through by the market forces, by our by this rational, like I will save time. Gandhi's is clear, like negation was like, why do you want to save time? What is the point in saving time? Like his idea was, yes, it is important that you should have like technological benefit, you should have technology to like make your life better, but is it all that is it all that is good for your like for yourself? Today majority of the like problems, majority of our illness, majority of our health related problems are associated with our like daily lifestyle. So it is somehow we find a justification in our thoughts that this is relevant for me. Suppose if I have a cycle, that I already gave an example, that I have a cycle, I want a motorcycle, and thereafter I want a car. So if I want a car, I don't have a clear and logical. I do have a logical correlation between the two, that I want to save time, but I don't know what would I do with this save time. So basically Gandhi's idea was like, when we are indulging too much in our like bodily self, somehow we are neglecting our inner self, and we are not enriching our inner self, and that widens the gap between our internal self and here leads to unhappiness. And this unhappiness, if this is like perfect, like if I am not happy because maybe I have all the luxuries, I have a car, I have a good house, I have air conditioned house, but at the same time I don't have a good health. Had I been walking, or had I been using a cycle, I would have a better health, and I would have been happier. But since modernity gives more and more emphasis on industrialization and other aspect, it somehow leaves that part behind, and in doing so, it has somehow created a disconnect. So so it basically neglected the soul, privileged the body, misunderstood the nature and limits of reason. When I say it has misunderstood the nature and limits of reason, it means like when when we look at the rationality aspect, we look at rationality. Yes, there is a correlation between something that we want, and then we create justification for it, but we don't actually get or we don't actually understand the we basically somehow misunderstood the whole concept, this whole concept. Then it is again, he further says that there is appreciation of individual swabha again, and he brings in like when we look at Gandhian thought, when we talk about the critique of modernity, there had been other political philosophers who have critiqued upon it. But when we look at Gandhi basically brings in the Indian with him. Here he is called Swabhav. Swabhav is your psychological and your like individuals like the character. And if we negate this swabhav, we basically create an atom like that will totally upset his setting. Like we have in we each society has its own trajectory, it has its own history. And if we try to bring in one single parameter to judge each and everyone, like look at the case of western civilization, it has created an ideal society, and in doing so it has created a common parameter for all. And when it has created a common parameter for all, it has somehow misunderstood, or somehow it has left this concept of swabhav of an individual. And this is this disconnect is somehow reflected in individuals unhappiness. Then do I have time?
Yes, sir, you have enough time. Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Yes, sir, you have enough time. You can deliver lecture as much as you can.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So it was materialist in its nature and orientation, in the sense that it valued material possession and consumption to the exclusion of almost everything else, and made the economy its center. So morality reduced to reciprocal egoism or enlightened self-interest. So basically what he is trying to say is that morality was reduced to enlightened. When he said enlightened stress, means moral principle, that enlightened self-interest was not one either. Like it was nothing. Like morality was reduced to reciprocal egoism. Enlightened capacity of the and therefore it's the weakness of modernity to understand the nature and limits of reason. It defined reason in largely positivist terms, made it the sole source of knowledge and action. Indiscriminately extended it to all areas of life. So basically, he is saying that great. We forget that there is a limit to applying reason, and reason alone cannot be the answer to our miseries. And what should be the guiding force? Gandhi says the reason alone was inherent inadequate and needed to be guided by wisdom, tradition, conscience, institution, and moral insight. So, with wisdom that we inherit in our lived experience, without our tradition, without the conscience, and that if we look at the Western political thinkers like myself, he says the moral compass. If we lose sight of the moral compass, we basically are like helpless. We are in a ship with no compass. So then he and moral most basically he is saying that rationalism is hierarchical. But even though he criticized modernity, he has some some, like, he has a soft corner for modernity as well, and that soft corner is because of some of its characteristics, like its scientific spirit of inquiry. Gandhiji basically modernity, modernity has some good science. Try to, if try to answer path, he says like path as the itself, and therefore here he says that the scientific spirit of inquiry that modernity has, modernity basically involves in the inquiry, and that inquiry is modern only when it is supported by scientific arguments. So and this spirit he admires, and he said that it's basically like intellectual curiosity, rigorous pursuit of truth, and critical examination of established beliefs. So this aspect he admires. The second he admires is like understanding the natural world and bring it under greater human control. So what does he like? He said like understanding the natural world and bringing it under greater human control. When he says being body centered, the modernity as being the body centered, because it to anticipate, control natural, eliminate diseases, improve, prolong life, and reduce or so that's modernity for the purpose that modernity has brought along some some good as well, and this good has helped humans and the modern civilization has greatly contributed to the organizational side of
Uh, Sir, again, your voice is not coming. Your voice is not coming properly, sir. Hello. I think sir has problem. Actually, Amit sir is discussing about the critical aspect of modernity, right? And that, yeah, and this is a very important line, like because the problem of modern society, right? I have just taught you third semester student about race society and all this, right? And once you try to understand Gandhi, right, at the one hand you are trying to understand the new contemporary societal problem, as well as you can understand the the glorious fundamental social structure of past, right? Because you are, from the law discipline. So just if you try to understand the jurisprudence, right? So we are having very traditional form of jurisprudence. We have panchayat, right? Gram panchayat, right? Parameshwar, right? So these how Gandhi's notions can be useful for that matter, right? And we can see our judiciary system is facing the crisis of like we don't have that much infrastructure, right? Oh, sir. Again, Mr. Amit sir has just joined. Okay, sir. Carry on. Carry on your lecture.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
So this,
Mhm.
if we look at
And sir is facing a very serious network issue.
so it's basically like look at the case of China state. Even we had some of the issues between India and United States on like on trade, and we have other issues. But at the other hand, we see we have a alliance with United States, Australia, Japan, and on the other side we seem to have an antagonizing force that is evolving, and that is China, which is supported in a way by Russia, and it is further like expanding, and a new a third country is joining that pack, and that is the Iran. So a kind of second wave, second Cold War type of scenario is evolving, and this is happening because we are not understanding, or we are not honoring or not trying to understand the heart of the enemy. If we look at the concept of, if we look at them as enemies, we are not trying to understand, we are not considering, like Gandhiji used to say, if you have to address the problem, you will have to understand the enemy's heart, you will have to approach enemy's heart. And if we look at the case of South China Sea dispute, what is the problem? What is the core issue that affects both the sides? If we look at South China Sea, you have at one hand China, and on the other hand you have six Southeast Asian countries. They are all fighting, and the reason for that is that they want some piece of us. This all want to share that South China Sea, and disagreement between them is to what extent one will share the resources, to what extent one will get the benefits. And in this regard, if we look at one particular example, and that is the workshop mechanism that was evolved by Indonesia. It's known as the workshop mechanism on managing South China Sea disputes. And if we look at the concept of this workshop mechanism, it seems to be emanating from Gandhian thought. How Gandhiji focused on understanding the enemy, understanding the next person, and trying to approach him by his heart. And what this process gives, what this workshop did, was to bring all the conflicting countries together, not as a representative of their respective countries, but as an individual, as somebody. It's a track to forum where no diplomatic discussed. They are basically involving. They are basically jointly discussing the ideas to control the situation in this area. They basically look at the piracy, look at the resources, how they will exploit the resources, and by doing so, what they are trying to do is they are trying to evolve a mechanism through which they will be able to find a solution, or find a way through which they all can coexist, they all can utilize the area, they all can benefit from the resources of this area. So this thing, if we look at the South, this experience suggests that the Gandhian thought is not just relevant for individual at individual level, but it's even more important at the international level. If we apply these principles like joint development, the concept of joint development, concept of bringing the parties, two parties, conflicting parties together on on a table, like we had in the Cambodian conflict. How this Cambodian conflict was resolved? It was not resolved on a diplomatic manner. It was resolved through attractive manner. And here again, if we look at the core, of the
Sir, your voice is not coming. Hello? Hello?
since okay, Ravin,
Okay. Thank you so
Randir
much.
ji,
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate like you connect each and everything. At the one hand, you are connecting the very philosophical thing, like how we should approach the reality, right? You talked about Swabha, right? And how we should give up the deterministic views of desire. That is the evils of modernity. Another thing, you are just connecting the idea of international relation, and Gandhi and Tagore's notion of nationalism has become more relevant, right? The idea of internationalism, right? The whole conflict between nations, and how those conflict, cause the problem of poverty and problem of marginality, and we are, seeing the scenario of Middle East and how. So this is a very relevant idea, and and Gandhian notion of justice, right? And we are sooner or later going to actualize his notion of justice when we theorize jurisprudence in that context. So now I would like to invite questions. So anybody can ask a question to Dr. Amit sir. Students,
Disha, Aditi, you can ask question from IR.
okay, sir. Sir, you have just mentioned like the idea of like how international relations. So, can you elaborate more on that? The significance of
yeah.
Gandhian
So
ideas.
when I was
Uh,
when
mhm,
yeah. So Gandhian thought, when we look at international level, so here the
mhm,
problem is basically of not
mhm,
understanding the uh, the 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 contending party's perspective, not listening to the other side seems to be a major problem in our contemporary times. Look at majority of the conflict. They are,
mhm,
look at Palestine conflict. Both the party
are not ready to understand the other's perspective. Look at South China Sea dispute. Look at India and China conflict. Majority of these conflicts are primarily because they are not understanding others' perspective. If we are not trying to understand, if we are not trying to listen to the other side, probably we'll never reach a conclusion. It's like a prisoner's dilemma. And in the prisoner's dilemma, both the parties are sticking to their own version of the reality, and therefore they are never able to find an amicable solution. So, if we look at the Gandhian thought, here is the importance of Gandhian thought. If we connect Gandhian thought here, Gandhiji basically tries to understand. Gandhiji basically tries to focus on this aspect, and he is saying, like, see, like party is also an individual, he is also a human. Therefore, try to understand, try to approach that person. Basically,
I think, sir, you are again facing the problem. So, so we are having a good session, but we are facing at the same time
so
network
this is,
issue problem. Yeah, sir, go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So basically, at the heart of these issues lies not understanding the others version of the reality. If we try to understand, if we try to even like at least listen to the the other side, probably majority of the issues will be resolved. If we try to listen to other side, the maybe we will come to a solution. Maybe we will come to a conclusion where we'll not be fighting anymore. And that here lies Gandhiji's significance. Here lies Gandhiji's what the significance of Gandhiji's ideas.
Thank you so much, sir. You have well elaborated. So, anybody else? Anyone can ask the question?
Sir, I have a question.
Okay, you can ask, sir.
Uh, Dr. Amit sir, how do you see the structural problem? If it Gandhiji mostly talk about morality, moral issues, uh, but if we see the inequalities and inequalities of resources, so how Gandhi, Gandhian
Yes,
way,
yes.
how can we tackle the problems?
So, structural problem. Okay. Dr. Amit, sir?
Yeah,
Oh, I
left.
think he has left.
Just,
So, don't worry, we are about to close the session.
yes,
So,
yes.
anybody wants to speak anything? So, Nisha, Nitin, Niyati, Aditi. So, thank you everyone for participating
And
this
we have also a
webinar.
bright scholar from law
Uh,
faculty,
thank you so
Yogendra
much,
sir,
sir. Bright scholars. Yogendra, sir, you have anything to say?
to add more,
Oh,
to
don't
enlighten
worry.
us.
Uh, so we are going to soon, start a webinar related to the law issue. So we have just contacted with Dr. Nishad, and we are going to soon, organize a session on Supreme Court jurisprudence and the legal theory, post-colonial legal theory, right? So we are going to have a very good session. So thank you so much for coming and participating in the webinar. And we have recorded the session, so we are again can listen the session. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone.